Most businesses don't fail from a lack of opportunity. They fail from chasing the wrong ones. And the truth is, saying yes to everything is the fastest path to burnout, distraction, and stalled growth. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the things that you could do, this episode's for you. So welcome back to the Mind of George Show. This is where entrepreneurs discover that true scaling isn't about hacks or tactics. It's about aligning your mindset, your message, your customer journey, and your marketing to create sustainable growth that feels authentic and aligned to who you are. We cut through the noise to help you build a business that matters and make money doing it. And in today's episode, we talk about how success isn't about how much you do. It's about what you don't do. We explore why most businesses fail, not from a lack of opportunity, but from saying yes to all the wrong ones. And you'll learn the exact filtering system that helps you eliminate distractions, stay focused, and protect your greatness so you can scale with clarity. And full credit to Benjamin Hardy for this episode. So we get real about the real reason why most entrepreneurs fail, how to apply Benjamin Hardy's decision filter, why every yes has an opportunity cost, the 4-question rapid filter, and the 4-part deep dive, plus how to build a business by protecting your no. So if you're anything like me, this episode should be a perfect fit. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by too many options, you've said yes to things that have drained you, you want to scale but keep getting distracted, or you're ready to say no more often and actually mean it, this one's for you. And I had to pull some statistics. 92% of entrepreneurs report shiny object syndrome. That's this episode's solution. You can scale 3 times faster from focus versus hustle, and 80% of burnout actually comes from decision fatigue. So I'm really excited to share this episode because it's tangible, it's tactical, and there are 2 frameworks inside of it that you should, and I say that intentionally, start using today. So without further ado, let's get into the episode because the clarity you've been waiting for starts right now. Success isn't about how much you do, it's about what you don't do. Most businesses don't fail from a lack of opportunity. They fail from a lack of filtering or focus. And so let me ask you an important question. How many quote unquote opportunities are actually distractions in disguise? I'm really stoked about today's episode, and I have to give full credit where it's due to the incredible Benjamin Hardy. If you have never read his books, Personality is Impermanent, 10x is better than 2x, his blog on Medium, it's incredible. And I got an email from him this week, and I was like, I have to dedicate an entire podcast episode to this because this episode is for any entrepreneur, but anyone like me who potentially is overwhelmed with options. There's so many things I could do. I have all these ideas. I don't know which one to pursue. Maybe we're addicted to action where we never want to sit down, or where you have that big, deep fear of FOMO, that fear of missing out. And so if you've ever said yes to an opportunity, to a task, to an idea, to a vision, and actually regretted it, or you found yourself spread too thin, there were too many things on your plate for you to actually scale, then you're going to want to hear this. So I got this email, and I have to give full credit. So go find Benjamin Hardy, go opt into his stuff. We'll have everything linked in the show notes. But this is what the email said. It said, and a quote from Jim Collins, it said, the fact that something is a once in a lifetime opportunity is irrelevant unless it fits within 3 important circles. A great company or entrepreneur will have many once in a lifetime opportunities. So what are the 3 circles that it fits in? So circle number 1 is what you deeply care about. Circle number 2 is what you're striving to be the best in the world at. So the thing that you're optimizing for. And then circle number 3 is what drives your economic engine. And so Benjamin took this quote and he made an incredible filter, a filter that I've been looking for 20 plus years, that typically is me calling a lot of people, sitting, praying, trying things until I bash my face on the wall and say, why did I spend 8 hours doing that thing that I'm not going to use? And these questions kind of stopped me in my track the first time I read them. And I was like, I need to outline a podcast episode for this. And so the first thing that we have to understand, and we've heard this on this podcast many times from a lot of successful entrepreneurs that I have interviewed, and they have this one shared resonant statement, which is there is power in saying no. It's not that we aren't surrounded by opportunity. It's not that every idea isn't a good idea. It's actually our ability to filter them, to say no to the ones that might be good so we can say yes to the ones that might be great, right? So Steve Jobs had said it, whatever your feelings of him are, is innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Another quote that I found from Michael Porter is the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. And so when it comes down under this premise of being the best in the world at what we do, for me, that's customer journey and personal development and mindset and faith coaching. Our focus should be singular. So to become the best in the world at that one thing, we have to focus on it, but most importantly, we have to protect it. If you decide you want to go become a professional athlete, you don't have a high likelihood of simultaneously becoming a professional football, basketball, and baseball player. But if you did take the time and dedicated to one of those sports, and you really grew and you maximized your efficiency and you built your strength, then you would have the potential to compete in that sport. And so it's the same with us as entrepreneurship, because every single yes that we say, everyone that we say to phone calls, to ideas, to things that we're shifting or changing, every one of those yeses has an opportunity cost. And then as you grow, the longer you're in business, the bigger your business is, the bigger your team is, the cost of a poor yes increases. So the more of those distractions or the more of those opportunities that we say yes to that might not have been the aligned opportunity cost more in the terms of truthfully damage to your business because of all the downstream effects that follow. And so one of the ways to remember this is saying no is how you protect your greatness so that you can focus, because focus is how you scale. And so the way that Benjamin breaks this down, and I'm going to be reading this verbatim to you. So if you see me looking at my notes, it's because I'm reading this verbatim because I can't remember all this, but I'm going to be using this. I have it saved in my Notion. I have it saved on the desktop of my computer, and I'm going to be filtering myself through these things frequently. And so I think it boils down to two distinct places. There's the quick filter. And then after the quick filter, there's the deep dive, which is the comprehensive. So you have like quick decision, or you have this decision or this opportunity needs a little bit more energy and attention for me to make sure that I'm a yes. And by the way, if you hear noise in the background, I'm in the Flagnerfeld warehouse and they're getting ready for a car show tomorrow. And so it might sound like fireworks. There's merchandise being moved, but we out here, we're keeping it in the show. So let's start with the quick filter. Okay. So the quick filter is for rapid decision-making, and Benjamin breaks these down into 4 core questions. And truthfully, if you want to pause this right now and write them down, I recommend pausing and writing down. We're going to have them linked in the show notes for sure, but writing them down on a pen and a piece of paper will help you remember them and anchor them and to come back. But also you can keep them in that notebook that you keep notes on, or put them on a sticky note on your wall in front of your computer. Okay. So these are the 4 questions that you use for rapid decision-making. Okay. Question number 1, does this radically advance my impossible goal by at least 10x? Does this radically advance my impossible goal by at least 10x? Number 2, does this make my business simpler and more scalable or more complex? Number 2, does this make my business simpler and more scalable or more complex? Number 3, does this amplify or dilute what I want to be the best in the world at? Does this amplify or dilute what I want to be the best in the world at? And number 4, from the perspective of my impossible goal, is this above or below the floor? From the perspective of my impossible goal, is this above or below the floor? Now, the impossible goal is the thing that you want to be the best in the world at. Okay. So as you write down these questions, these are questions that when you're faced with an opportunity to maybe go on a podcast or go fly somewhere to take a keynote. And I'll give a tangible example of this actually that just happened last week, right? You want to filter these opportunities through these rapid fire questions. And one of the things to understand about these questions is they're like a speed gate for your brain. They're like speed hurdles, right? So if it isn't an immediate yes, it's probably a no, right? So if you bump into one of them and you're like, yeah, on to the next. Yeah, on to the next. You get to the third and you're like, ooh, I don't know. That's a no. That's definitely a no. And when you get faced with one of those gates that isn't a heck yes to get through, you can move down into what I'm going to cover next, which is the deep dive, like the comprehensive ones. but use it as a sign and learn to trust it. So I will give you a tangible example of me going through these. So I just got back from an incredible trip. An incredible trip. An incredible trip. I flew to Canada. I road tripped with my incredible woman, Kate. We went from Canada, drove to Vermont for my incredible best friend Bella's wedding. And on the planning of this trip, about a week before, I got a text from a friend who I'd keynoted for in California. And we were just catching up. And he's like, hey, man, how are you? How's your son? How's your relationship? I'm like, great, great, great. How's your family? He's like, great. I'm actually stoked. I'm flying to Vermont next week. And I was like, oh, what are you going for? He's like, oh, we're running our mastermind. And I was like, where in Vermont are you going to be? And he told me where. And I was like, what days? And he told me when. And I was like, funny story. I'm going to be road tripping through Vermont on that exact day within 45 minutes of where you are. And he's like, you've spoken to our members before. If you want to drop in, come have lunch with us and give a talk, we would love to have you. I basically used these 4 questions to filter through my brain and truthfully quiet my tired brain, quiet my I just want a road trip brain. And so question number 1, does it radically advance my impossible goal by at least 10x? For me, I want to help every entrepreneur build world-class customer journeys and have their heart and marketing be aligned to them. And the way that I love doing that is by pouring into people in person. So that was a quick yes. Does this make my business simpler or more scalable or more complex? Truthfully, way simpler, because for me to plan an event, to try to find one, to plan logistics, to plan another trip, this was actually great because it was only 30 minutes out of the way of where I was already heading. Number 3, does it amplify or dilute what I want to be the best in the world at? That was an easy yes. It amplifies. I got to go answer questions, do marketing, do customer journey, help them build their businesses. It was an easy yes. And then number 4, from the perspective of my impossible goal, is it above or below the floor? It's above. It's helping me get closer to my impossible goal. It's building another step. It's spreading the message. It's me being there. And I rapid fired these questions, and I'm going to be really transparent. I landed in Toronto at 1 a.m. the night before. And this meant instead of leaving on the road trip at like 8 a.m., I had to get up and leave at 4:30 a.m. But because these were such big yeses for me, it was so clear that I didn't even get to negotiate. It was like, here we go. Turned out it was incredible. We got to eat lunch. We got to laugh. We got to pour in. And then we left there, went to the wedding, and saw the most beautiful wedding in the world. And so that is a simple example of how you can use these, but how I use these. They can be in a podcast idea, a piece of content, a platform that you're launching, a course that you're making, a training that you're doing. So those are the quick filters, which then leads us to the deep dive. So if you pass those 4 gates, right, we'll just consider those the speed gates. If you pass those 4 gates, you're a yes. I say go. I say go do it, right? I'm not your coach. Maybe I am if you're listening to this. If you'd like me to be, you know how to reach out. But I say yes, and that's for you to go, to filter out, to make sure that it's aligned, and to allow you to take action. If at any of those, or even after those yeses, you're met with some hesitation, or some of those yeses were like maybes or nos, then you want to move into his deep dive. And the deep dive is his comprehensive decision filtering. And the way that he breaks this down is in 4 complete categories. Okay. So you have the frame, you have the floor, you have the focus, and then you have stakeholders. And I'm going to go through each one of these. And so what is the frame? The frame questions are really, really simple. It's what is your impossible goal, right? What is that thing, your vision board, your vivid vision, your BHAG, if you're familiar, big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, what is that impossible goal that you are trying to achieve? That's question number 1. Number 2, what do you want to be the best in the world at? What is that thing that you are trying to be the best in the world at? And then the question, once you've established that frame, is does this opportunity amplify that? So setting the frame or container, like you've heard me use the term before, is really giving yourself the parameters of what you're measuring it against. And so if you're just quick hitting decisions and you're not tied into your why, you're not tied into your vision, you're being inundated and overwhelmed with the day-to-day and the stress, then we're not going to have a good barometer to reference. And so you want to set the frame. And I recommend pen to paper or marker to whiteboard. When we can see it, when we can look at it, it's a lot more powerful for us to process it. Okay, so set the frame. What's your impossible goal? And what do you want to be the best in the world at? That's the container that you're doing all of this under. So then the one question to ask yourself is, does this opportunity amplify those things? That's a really easy yes or no. Because if it doesn't reinforce your unique edge, if it doesn't amplify your impossible goal or the thing that you want to be the best in the world at, there's a chance it's a detour and not a direction you want to be heading. So that's the frame. Then you move into part two. And part two is the floor. And this is where we get into the motivation as to what this opportunity is. Okay. So with the floor, there's 4 specific questions. Question number 1 is, why are you really considering this? Why are you really considering this? And we get to be honest with ourselves. If I was going to be completely honest with myself, why is this opportunity appealing? Why am I considering this a true opportunity? Okay. That's question number 1. Okay. Question number 2 is, what are the hidden costs? What are the hidden costs of this opportunity? Right? So I might pursue this opportunity, but it's going to take me 16 hours. It's going to require that I travel. It's going to require that I work after hours or that I work on a weekend. But we need to be honest and go in eyes wide open. What are the hidden costs of pursuing this opportunity? Number 3, what would you have to, excuse me, I burped. Apologies. Number 3, what would you have to let go of to maximize this opportunity? So if we think about this from the perspective of our past self, it might be an incredible opportunity. But from the perspective of our completed impossible goal, from the completed one, when we're looking back and we're imagining that it's been completed already, are there any things that we would have to let go of to pursue it? And is this really, truly an opportunity? Is it really, truly an opportunity? So question number 3 is like, what would you have to let go of to maximize it? Maybe that's my perfection mindset. Maybe it's thinking that I have to do it perfectly. Maybe it's not editing the video as much or polishing the podcast. Maybe it's saying yes to something that I've never said yes to and I'm going to stretch. But we need to be honest about what it is that we have to let go of to maximize it. And then the last question for the floor is, does this make your system simpler and more scalable, or does it add more complexity? Does it make your system simpler or more scalable, or does it add more complexity? And so those are the questions for the floor. Because when we're standing in our current moment and we're looking at our yeses of what we've accomplished, sometimes they look good. But if we were to step out into the future and imagine, and this is why I love the premise of Benjamin Hardy's book, imagine we're living in that impossible goal. Would we still say yes to the opportunity? And when we change that perspective and we start to look back, we start to realize that acting as if it's already there now and making decisions as if it's already there now is the thing that unlocks that future opportunity. So that's the second part, which is the floor. Then we move into focus. Okay. And focus is really, really simple. Focus is really, really simple. It's 2 questions. At the core of this opportunity, is it more optimized for making you or your company look good? Or does it make you truly great and the best in the world at what you do? And I want to say that again, because this is really, really, really important. There's optics and there's results. Does this opportunity just make you look good, or is it actually empowering you or helping you or getting you closer to being great? That's question number 1. Question number 2, does it simplify your vision or does it distract you from it? Does it simplify your vision or does it distract you from it? And those 2 questions will allow us the information to be honest and have the perspective of what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. What it is we're doing and why we're doing it. That is the 3rd bucket. And the 4th bucket is stakeholders. Okay. And I have found when I am in deep decision mode, when I'm sometimes in analysis paralysis or emotional paralysis, let's be honest, emotional paralysis, I will stay stuck even if I have the answers to these questions. But then when I get an outside perspective of somebody that I know, like, and trust, automatically things become crystal clear that we're fuzzy. And I have the ability to lean forward and take action on that thing. And so the fourth bucket is stakeholders. So the first question is, who needs to weigh in? So who else would I need to discuss this with? My partner, my wife, my husband, my stakeholders, my team, my customers, anybody, to stress test this opportunity so that they can help me see or identify things that I might not have thought of. They might help me identify a blind spot, or they might help me identify a way to amplify that opportunity, but they can only do that if I ask. And so who do I need to weigh in? Who do I need their opinion of? Who do I want the perspective of? And not saying it's just a tell-all that whatever they say is yes or no, but what you're doing is you're pressure testing this opportunity. And so who needs to weigh in, and who in my life, in my business, helps me see the blind spots? Because sometimes the best filter for us is someone that we trust who isn't wrapped up in the excitement dopamine of the idea. I know for me, I have had some of the greatest ideas. I remember some of them, and I'm so glad that people told me no. I had an idea, God, maybe it was 7 years ago, of like how I was going to get myself back into shape and how I was going to raise money for wounded veterans. And like with no training, with nothing, I was like, I want to set out on this impossible goal. Not that the goal itself was wrong, but there were a lot better ways to do it. And I was livid on this goal. That's the only word I can think of. I called people, but I called yes people. And they're like, yes, 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 yes. You totally should. You totally should. And then I had a few close people to me, and they were like, sit down. And I was like, who? Come again? And we had these deep conversations, and it led to this massive clarity. But I was so wrapped up in that excitement dopamine and that clarity dopamine that I was missing some critical parts or some critical ingredients that would have actually prevented me from achieving that goal. And so when we think about this decision framework, we have the first part that I shared, which is the quick filter. Remember the hurdles. If you're a heck yes at each hurdle, you jump over them smoothly. If there's resistance, a maybe, a no, then you either leave it because your gut knows, your heart knows, your mind knows, or you move down into the comprehensive. And the comprehensive that I shared is you have the frame, then you have the floor, then you have the focus, and then you have the stakeholders. And when you start to look at these questions, and when you start to look at all of the principles that are included in this decision-making framework, the things that it holds us accountable to, the things that we truthfully know logically sometimes, but we forget about emotionally, it sets us up to win. It genuinely sets us up to win. Because when we really think about these decision questions, we fall into common pitfalls way too often, right? We'll say yes to everything. We'll get shiny object syndrome. We will try to optimize for goals that are co-competing or conflicting with each other. We'll pursue opportunities that take our attention away from the things that that actually help and actually make progress. Or, and I know I've done this before, I've said yes to opportunities. I've done things that make me look good, but they actually came at the sacrifice of me being better and me being different and me being the best in the world at what I do. And so this helps us understand opportunity cost. This helps us filter and make decisions based on the goals that we want to achieve. And it gives us a framework that truthfully keeps us out of rumination and stagnation and gets us into direct action. Because if we have these goals, if we have this desire, the only way that we can do it is to be building it. And to be building it, we need to be methodical and meticulous in investing in the right things. And the way that Benjamin breaks things down and the way that he writes, I mean, I could never. This is why I recommend all of his books. I recommend his emails. I recommend everything that he does. But this framework came and it hit my desk. And I was like, we have to share this. We have to talk about this. Because I think the quicker we can make decisions, the quicker we can create results. And so what I love about frameworks, and this is one of those ones to save, it's one of those ones, like I said, to print out, to put on your sticky, to put in your notebook. It gives us the ability to look at every single opportunity with clarity. It gives us a framework that lets us vet very quickly, in some instances and cases, to keep us focused, and sometimes a little bit more comprehensive, but enrolling our key stakeholders, the people we love in our team, to make sure that we no longer end up slaves to shiny objects. Hi, that's me. I'm George. I'm recovering. Welcome to the party. But it makes us focused. It makes us purpose-driven. It makes us intentional, and it creates a whole lot more progress. And so here's my ask. Here's my invitation for you. If any of this landed, like if you're even listening to this, at minimum, I want you to write down all of these questions. I want you to write down the frames, write down the quick frame, the rapid fire frame, and then write down the comprehensive frame somewhere where you have it, where you know about it, where you can reference it, where you can start to use it. That's the minimum. But if you want to take it one step deeper, I would grab a pen and a piece of paper and some quiet time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes out in nature, go sit by a pond. Go sit in the city if you love traffic, whatever it is that helps you think clearly. And I want you to list the top 3 opportunities that you are currently considering in your life or in your business. In your life or in your business. And then I want you to independently run each of them through this filter and see what clarity it brings you, see what momentum it brings you. You might think that you had a ton of no's that become yeses. You might have yeses that become no's. But I want you to give them the weight and the time that they deserve. And I want you to run them through this filter. And then if you want, DM me, send them to me, like email me, you know how to email me, DM me, and let me know what you discovered, because I'm not as excited about the things that you're saying yes to. I'm more excited about the things that you're saying no to. And I've realized with all of us, and if you're a parent, you can probably relate to this, or you're in a relationship or a deep friendship, there's all of us probably have these moments in our life that we can reference right now in an instant, where in the moment we were almost bummed or emotionally sad that we said no to something. And we're like, no, I just can't, because some value, something in our life, something got in the way. But now when we reflect on some of those moments, some of those no's turned into the most powerful things that we've ever achieved. They turned into the most powerful breakthrough, business meeting, decision, opportunity, clarity. But all too often we forget about those. And it's so easy in the race and in the game to get wrapped up in the dopamine, to get wrapped up in the yes, to get wrapped up in every single opportunity that comes your way. I want to go on every podcast. This was me for years. I want to go on every podcast. I'm going to speak on every stage. Well, I had a couple of years of that, and then I would fly 150 times a year and I didn't see my son. So yes, in one degree, it was helping me expand the business, except I also said yes to speaking engagements that made me look good, that didn't really help me be better at customer journey, that didn't help me facilitate breakthroughs for people. And then what was it costing me? It was costing me time with my son. It's cost me memories that I can't get back, but I can remake now and make new ones. And so we all have this agency when it comes to where we spend our time, when it comes to where we utilize our time, when it comes to what we're capable of achieving and why we want to achieve it. But no one else can filter these opportunities but us. Nobody else can make the decisions but us. And when we have a framework, when we have a simple set of questions that forces a pattern interrupt for us to get clarity, for us to get present, for us to get grounded, and truthfully for us to see every layer of what's underneath it, it becomes an empowered decision, and one that we're choosing, that typically becomes measurable and repeatable, which is how we create the results to build and scale a business. And so that's what I want to talk about today. And I love it. I'm going to take a sip of my cold coffee because I forgot to drink it. But I want to know how these landed for you. I want to see you using them. I want to see you talking about them. Bring them to your teams, bring them to your friends, bring them everywhere. And even bring them to your relationship. Because you know what? I love talking about relationships. I love relationships. I love loving people. And I think the more we love people and can communicate with love, the better. But think about this in your partnership. Think about this with your wife. Like, what's your impossible goal as a couple? What is the thing that as a couple, you are trying to be the best in the world at? And set that as a frame. And when you're given opportunities, as a couple, sit down and run these filters. Is this going to help us achieve this? Is this going to bring us closer? Is this going to add more complexity? I think it's an incredible tool that truthfully is ubiquitous. It can be used in your relationships. It can be used in your vision. It can be used in your goals. It can be used on your personal goals. It can be used in your business. It can be used with your team. And most importantly, only if you use it. And so I wanted to share this. So 100%, I'll say it again. I've said it, 5 or 6 times. Full 100% credit to Benjamin Hardy. This was not mine. I did not make this. I am just sharing the good news because it's an incredibly powerful tool. And so I want to share that with you guys today. I wish you the most beautiful, beautiful of days, whatever day you're listening to this. And remember that relationships will always beat algorithms. Don't let anything in here become shelf help. Take action on it today. And then truthfully start flexing that muscle of saying no so that the right yeses show up. I love you. I appreciate you. God loves you. God appreciates you. So I'll either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, we're out.